Good morning. Yes, it is. It's good morning. Today is February 20th, 2025. I Some more things have hit the media that I found quite interesting, and I thought I'd opine on those. The main one here is about divorce regrets. Uh, Joe Rogan, if you haven't heard of him, he has the most popular podcast in the world. In the world, okay? He gets it's just amazing. Now, she usually lasts about 3 hours, though it has been known to last longer and occasionally does last shorter. And it's where a bunch of men, for the most part, get together and they talk about man stuff. There's some women on the show every now and then, and that's all awesome and great, but I'm not complaining. I can't watch 3 hours of men doing anything much just because they they speak in man speak, and that's okay because they're men, and I love men. Men are awesome, but especially when they're talking about, magic mushrooms and drug use and mixed martial arts and stuff like that. I don't care. But Joe Rogan, nevertheless, it has the largest podcast in the world, and a lot of men like watching it, and I'm sure some women do too. Anyway, he was a Democrat, absolutely, solidly in that camp, and he started seeing a meltdown, as we all saw last year too, and we're seeing now the Democrats just melting down like crazy. So he saw this thing and he thought, "What's going on?" And then he says, "Who's causing them to melt down?" Well, all they did was scream and holler, "Bad man orange," or "Orange man." Yeah, "Orange man bad." Trump, 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 Trump. Trump derangement syndrome came to be, and he's wondering what's going on. So he thought, you know what? I'll just interview Trump. Probably not thinking that he'd come on his show, but he did. Um, what was the Trump interview was 3 hours and I don't know, 15 minutes or something like that, longer. And I watched every single minute of it because I wanted to see how both of them would perform, and would it be entertaining, but would it also be informative? Yes, on both counts. It was great. And if you haven't watched it, it is still on YouTube. I would look it up. Um, but it was at that time that Rogan really started taking a look, and he decided to divorce the Democrat Party and endorse Trump. He gave the Democrats every opportunity. He even invited Kamala Harris on, and it just couldn't be arranged. See, just couldn't be arranged. It was inconvenient. She wanted things her way. Whereas Rogan said, "Trump, you want to be on it?" Yep, boom, he was there. Elon Musk, you want to be on it? Yep, boom, he was there. Kamala Harris, well, which I think honestly was a good decision for her. She could not have lasted more than 10 minutes without completely blowing herself up at the same time. Not being able to go on it blew her up. And so the the Dems like, well, who needs Joe Rogan? Well, now they're realizing they need their own Joe Rogan. So just like a man or a woman who's gotten divorced and their feelings are hurt because so and so didn't love them. Oh, they go out and they try to find somebody who will love them and treat them with the respect like they deserve. Yeah, well, headlines are After Trump wins the influencer election, why some Democrats want to create their own Joe Rogan. Well, they had him, they ran him off, and now they want to get another one. Now, I'm going to say that there's a fellow that I've been seeing recently. His name is it Bill Burr? I think that's who it is. He's a comedian of some sort, and I'm sure he's funny. I'm sure, but um, he's not somebody that I would trust to get my message across accurately. Um, let's just leave it at that. I think that they're going to try and get Bill Burr to be the next Joe Rogan, and they're going to throw money at him, and he's going to take it because it'd be stupid not to. He's going to take it. He's going to try and get this podcast. They're going to throw money into the advertising of it. They're going to try and get all these people on who are, yay, yay, Marxism. They won't say yay, Marxism. No, 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 no. They will say, yay, freedom of speech and all this stuff, but they don't really mean it. They don't mean it. And I think it's not going to last very long at all because nobody's going to tune in. Oh, sure, a lot of people will tune in at first just to kind of sort of see. Do they have game? Can they bring it? The answer will be no, they don't, and no, they can't. So we'll see. But that's the headline for today that I got. And let's see, oh, my trash can's over here. Throw that in the trash. So then let's say Bill Burr doesn't make it. Bet you they'll try to make an AI version. An AI version. AI will be called into play. AI can't even tell a joke. Alan Dershowitz, I was watching his video this morning. It was called, what was it called? He asked the question, well, dadgummit, I've got it. Oh, let me show you this is what, see, I can share a screen. There we go. Present, share the screen with this one here. Do judges have the authority to overrule Trump's policy decision? While, oh, there it is. That's how you do it. Do judges have the authority? Here we go. Share. Do judges have the authority to overrule Trump's policy decision? And the answer is no, they don't. But we'll get into that later. But he was telling a joke. Well, he was letting people know about his opinion on the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary thing, which I guess you had to be there. I didn't find any bit of it funny, and I haven't been able to watch it all in its entirety in one sitting. I get bits and pieces, and I know they go, well, you need to watch the whole thing. No, really don't. Really don't. But anyway, he was talking about what funny is. He didn't find Saturday Night Live, and he also said those hosts at night, the Jimmy Kimmels and the Fallons and the whoever else is on there, they're not funny. He said they're not funny. And he said, you might think I'm an old curmudgeon and I don't like to laugh. You would be wrong. He loves to laugh. And he said, I wonder if AI can originate a joke and tell it and it be funny. Well, I don't think it can because AI does nothing original. You tell it what to do, give it parameters, and within those parameters, it can throw some things together that already exist. Now, prove me wrong, but I'm right. AI can't do it. So the Dems trying to get AI, they wouldn't get through 10 minutes before they would be repeating material or completely misunderstanding or throwing out something that the Dems would not want because they didn't know how to write their parameters properly. So anyway, that was that. Now let's see what's next. Oh yeah, the Alan Dershowitz let's add him to the stage again. Uh, the question is, do judges have the authority to overrule Trump's policy decision? The short answer is no. And the reason is, and I wrote this down so that I wouldn't have to hunt for it on the video, judges are to apply the law, not define what the public good is. They're to apply the law. The case that he made, and if you go to YouTube, you can look it up right there. Just put Alan Dershowitz, and it'll be his latest one, because he just did it yesterday. Um, the reason judges exist are not to make law. They are to take two opposing views on a law and let these opposing views make their case for why their view of the law is correct, or this one's view is correct. And then that judge then goes into the books, does all the research, leastwise that's what they're supposed to do, except for our freaking activist judges now, who it's not about the law, it's about what's good for you. That's not what judges are for. So anyway, Dershowitz goes into a wonderful explanation of it, cites some of his cases or people's cases or people that he knows their cases, how it applies, and I think you would really very much enjoy the his video. Very well done. Now I'll tell you, I like Alan Dershowitz as a person. He still, even though he no longer, what's the word, identifies as a Democrat, because he left them, he does not identify as anything else specifically. So I think he's still got a ways to come, but he is a constitutionalist, and you better not mess with him on the constitutional law. The man knows what he's doing. So that's enough of that one. Now, the next one I wanted to share with you was share screen. It is Konstantin Kisin. I think that's how you say his name. He spoke at the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship. They have an annual conference. It's called ARC. Several people have spoken there recently. Again, I'm going to say look this up on YouTube because I found it absolutely wonderful. He made me laugh several times. I'm sure Dershowitz would have liked it too because the humor was spot on. But I'll tell you what was interesting is that most of the audience, even though they were there for Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, they didn't like some of what he said. And that's okay. But every now and then he'd get a really, really good laugh. But his points were very well made, and I think you really need to hear it from his voice. What did he say? One thing he said was, let's see, he said he's Russian, Ukrainian, British, and Jewish. He said none of those groups are known for their bright outlook on the future. I know, I know. It is hilarious. But this is what he looks like, and this was where he was at. And it just look it up. You can look up Konstantin and probably Konstantin Kisin at ARC, and you'll be able to hear him. And I really suggest you do it. I'm trying to think how long it is, 15, 16 minutes, something like that. But it is full of a lot of logic for freedom and for standing up for the society in which you live, which is the West. we've been conditioned for a long time, or have tried to be conditioned to think of ourselves as the bad guys. And we're not perfect. This is true. But neither are we the bad guys. And he makes that point, and I think you will really enjoy that a lot. So take a look and look it up. Okay, so that's one sheet done. Let's see, who is the next one? Now I think I mentioned this yesterday. Let me present that screen. Stop that screen. Let's share another one. I'm going to have to figure out how in the heck this one, Vance, share. Now, this is the famous Munich speech by J.D. Vance just here a few days ago. You can see the crowd. This is only part of the crowd. When the camera panned outwards, you could see it was a huge crowd. And only once did he get a huge audience applause. Mostly the crowd was very unhappy because he was they felt like he was airing their dirty laundry, and I think that's been said before too. In fact, this is what I've got for this printout. Here's some various takes on what he did. It from the Hill. J.D. Vance rips European leaders in Munich over migration and free speech. Rips. That's an American way of looking at it. Then there was one, Sky News, Australia. J.D. Vance ruffled a lot of feathers. They kill me with their fun way of putting things. And then there was the darn, I'm trying to think who that is. Can't figure that out. Hindustan Times says J.D. Vance gives stunning answer in front of Zelensky. Stunning, very stunning. That followed that speech, by the way, in Munich by just a few days. And then J.D. Vance goes after European allies in Munich conference. And then there was Trump reacts to J.D. Vance's Munich Security Conference speech. His quote was, "Europe has to be careful." And he does, doesn't he? But this crowd, for the most part, they were very, very unhappy. So unhappy that the next, it wasn't even the next day, it was just a few hours later that Pistorius, the German defense minister Pistorius, gets up and says that his speech about them not giving free speech is not acceptable. He's not acceptable, and it must be stopped. And then what do we have? We have 60 minutes. 60 minutes with the host that evening was Sharon Alfonsi. I have never heard of Sharon Alfonsi, but obviously people have. She's interviewing 3 Germans who are saying free speech. Free speech has to have, how did this one put it? Free speech needs boundaries. Boundaries. What is that phrase they're using now here in the U.S. and like crazy? Oh yeah, guardrails. Guardrails. Doge needs guardrails. Germany. Free speech needs boundaries, because if there's too much free speech, then somebody might get their feelings hurt. Oh my God. Now, to say that, she used a whole paragraph. So she wants to shut down free speech to protect free speech. The host, the 60-minute host, was way too gleeful. as they showed pictures of German police. Let's see, what did it look like? Let's get that off and let's share another screen. Let's share another screen. Hello, share a screen. Let's do this one. This video, this is just one guy standing there. It was just a quick shot as they went by him. But I wanted to show this one because it says all we need to know about what Germany is doing to their citizens right now. Because they dared to post something online that was their opinion about a matter. This right here, totally. Is it Polizei? Polizei? This is what the Marxists in this country want to see happen. And Marxists are on every side that there is. You know, you got your Democrats, you got your rhinos, you got your Democratic Socialists, you got your activists on every subject that there is. Anti this, anti that, pro this, pro that. They all want to police what we say and what we think. J.D. Vance brought that out in his speech to the Munich to the European Union members. He said, you got people being shut down for standing on a sidewalk, saying nothing, and the police say, are you praying in your head? That is against the law. Well, if that had been me standing there, I would have said, praying. I was not aware I believed in God. Nah, I wouldn't have said that. I probably would have said, well, I don't know. Am I? How are they going to prove I was or wasn't? Am I praying in my head? Prove it. They can't prove it, but they want you to admit it. And I mean, this is happening. This is happening in this is happening, and it's not right. Those who are Christians, at least most, hopefully most who are Christian, understand that standing for high morals, keeping high moral standards, recognizing that we're all imperfect, and yet we're trying to do better, praying for God's help, for His mercy, for His grace. We know that we're limited, and we know that the result of fixing all of this is in God's hands ultimately, of which He prophesied in the Bible, all through the Bible. The first prophecy, what was Genesis 3:15, that He was going to provide a solution. He already knew what the solution would be. He knew what would work and that it would take some time. And these prophecies, some of them, the Messiah was brought through the Jewish line, and they had all those prophecies, and that's why when Jesus was born, they were already knowing that it was the time and the season for the Messiah to appear. So they were looking for Him. And when He showed up, they rejected Him. Now, not all Jews did. Some Jews did accept Him. And thus the Christian thoughts and all that sort of thing were born, as we have in Matthew through Revelation. But now Revelation is full of the end of all these prophecies, and that it's God's kingdom. So as Christians, we know that. But dealing with our daily lives here, we cannot let evil, all these other thoughts, these Marxist thoughts, they all belong to Satan, and there's nothing new with his methods. So we need to keep our eye on it, and we need to point out the enemy where we can, when we can, and how we can. So that's that. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh yeah. You'll hear part of it on the Dershowitz, the Der Show, he calls it. He mentions about the Constitution. He goes into the forming of it, the writing of it, the organizing of it, which was Madison, Hamilton, and Jefferson who were responsible for pretty much putting it all together. And but the question that he had been asked was, if you could sit down with somebody and have a conversation, who would it be from that Revolutionary War time? And he said Jefferson, and he would say, why did you have slaves? Well, see, to me, that has been asked and answered. I wouldn't even ask any of that. I would want to sit down with George Washington. And the reason is because Madison and Hamilton and Jefferson and the other signers and of the Declaration of Independence and the writers of the Constitution and the country that was formed, defined through those, would not have existed if it had not been for the leadership of George Washington. Well, I think we're in that same sort of period now. There's a fight for the life of the Constitution. This Constitution that defines who has freedom and why. Everybody has freedom. Now, granted, there is responsible use of that freedom. For instance, just because I have freedom doesn't mean I can go out and just shoot a bunch of people and go, freedom of speech. That's not how it works. And we all know that. But if George Washington could not have inspired plain everyday folks to take a stand, the Revolutionary War would never have been fought, because they'd all been in their homes just waiting for the British to come and just tell them what to do. So George Washington knew what was needed. Regular folks knew what was needed, and they got together, and George Washington inspired them to take action, and they took action. Well, the same thing is happening now with Trump. Trump is that general. He's the one that says, things aren't right. And don't be wussies. Let's stand up for what is right. Let's remember what this Constitution does, why it was made. And if you haven't read it, it's not that long, but it's powerful. And yes, there's questions that we may have, and as we go through time, we may have to figure out how to apply it in some current situation. But people are people. People are people, and the Constitution, where Dershowitz may think that it might need to be tweaked a little bit more through legislative process or whatever, it actually does its job. It sets the parameters. You want to talk about guardrails? Those are the guardrails. The Constitution is the guardrail. It's the guardrail of freedom to worship the God that you want to worship, to speak your mind when things are wrong, to speak your mind when things are right. People who don't believe in free speech, they only want you to say what they want you to say. They don't want to hear your opinion. They don't want to know why you have it, and they definitely don't want you to inspire others to do anything about it. So I think that's what Trump is doing now. Some people say, "Oh, he's wants to set himself up as the leader of the pack." No, he is inspiring the troops. The troops are the likes of you and me, who say, "You know what? That's right. We do have these safeguards, these guardrails. It's called the Constitution." And if you haven't read the Declaration of Independence, which is again not very long, and it's quite easy to understand. And if you have not read the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, which is not very long, and it is easy to understand, though, yes, of course, there's questions. And what was the Federalist Papers were written where everybody commented upon all the different parts, the Hamiltons and all them. That, it started getting very, you could see how they all looked at it differently. And yet, um, we still have questions. And why is that? Because there's new generations that come up. And with the Marxist push to indoctrinate our children through the schools, through television programming, and children's books and stuff like that, um, the Constitution is pushed away. See, it's just pushed away. And Marxist thought comes in. So every generation needs to know these things. When I was in high school, they had constitutional law and civics and history and this sort of thing. Oh, how I wish I had taken those classes, because I had no clue about any of this. These were not subjects for conversation at my house ever. I never knew anybody who talked about it. And yet these are the very things that I have ended up having to teach myself and learn about in my adulthood, because even before I understood what these things were for or had even read them, I was already thinking, that I feel like there's communism pushing in here, but I couldn't really discuss it. I didn't understand how to explain it. So that's the situation there. Now, the last thing I'm going to bring up, it's possible there may be some women and a few wussy men who might take offense at what I'm getting ready to say, but this was years ago. I had been in business, maybe 6-7 years, and there was a group of women that had formed, and they for a particular reason, which I won't mention because it doesn't matter. But it was something I was interested in. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll meet with them and let's see if we can have some good discussions. And I being a graphic designer and a print broker and doing bulk mailings for companies and stuff like this, I knew a lot about that sort of thing. So when someone in the group said, "Hey, we need somebody to do this," I volunteered. So I said I can lay out the newsletter, get it printed, mail prep, get it in the mail. And so they were all happy for that. And I would do it as part of the group. See, I was such a good little volunteer. Uh, but the newsletter, the first newsletter I did came out, and of all things, they wanted to start getting some movie reviews in there. And I said, well, I'll do the first one. And they said, oh, okay, great. And it was for Zorro with Anthony Hopkins and who was that cutie pie? What was his name? Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Yeah. Oh my God, they were all at the top of their game then. But I wrote this review of the movie. We get the thing printed, we get it sent out, and the head of the organization, the one who got it all started, calls me up and she says, we're not going to do movie reviews anymore. And I said, well, why not? She said, well, there's been some complaints About mine? Yes. What was the complaint? Well, it's so good they can't think they can ever write one better. And I went, are you telling me that people don't want any other reviews because mine was so awesome they can't beat me? She said, yeah, pretty much. That's when I started thinking, I don't think this group is going to be for me because I want somebody to, what's the word, challenge me. I want somebody to challenge me to be better. Now, it gets better. We're having a meeting one day, and all these women are complaining. They're all complaining about mean men. Oh, men are so mean. They're keeping me from being empowered. And that's the first time I heard that word empowered. And I said, what's empowered? What do you mean men are keeping you from being empowered? Well, I can't get the job I want. And blah 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 and blah blah blah. And I was shocked. I said, okay, wait. Are you telling me that men should choose women for jobs and move them up the ladder so that they can make more money and crack that glass ceiling, so to speak? Oh, yes, 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 yes. I said, well, is it all women? Oh, yes, 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 yes. And I said, but I have a quick question. What if there's a woman who doesn't want to be in a leadership position, who doesn't want to do anything? In fact, she would be better served if she was put in a little room all by herself with some filing cabinets so she could file all day long and just not have to deal with anything. Women are stronger than that. I said, not all women. Not all women. This group of women looked at me and they said, you don't want women to be empowered? I said, look, I'm not looking to a man to empower me. I'm I'm looking to see a challenge and try and overcome it myself. But not all people operate that way. And if you're out here thinking all women need to be empowered without asking them if they want it, then you're just spinning your wheels. Well, that was the end of me being involved in that group, I can tell you that. And that was it. And I've not had much use for groups after that, unless they're very clear on what they want. But this empowering women thing has just been taken to the nth degree of absurdity. There is some sort of a commercial where this woman is for, what is it? It's for one of those cards where you can load it with money, and if you run out of money, they'll spot you $250 to use. And there's this woman sitting there, young woman, cute. And she says, yes, my goal is to empower women. And with my little card here, I can empower them. And I went, wait a minute. You can't even save up enough money to have a checking account on your own and pay your own bills because you're afraid you're going to bounce a check and banks aren't going to take that because you don't want to pay those fees. So you're using this little card where you have to put money on it. And then if you run out of that money, they'll give you $250 or however much it is you asked for that you would then have to pay back at no fee. How is that empowering? Tell me. And you financial cards out there that are doing that, I know y'all are getting whatever these fees are, click fees or whatever from the companies that take them in payment. I don't know how you're making your money exactly, but it's got to be something like that. These commercials of empowering women. If any, who is even still believing that anymore? Who is still believing that? It's been 3 decades. 3 decades. 30 frickin' years. There have been women empowering women. And yet they're still complaining about the very same things that they were complaining about 30 years ago. So something's not working. Okay, enough of me hollering at these idiot people doing that sort of thing. Um, be sure and like the video. I appreciate that. And be sure and share it. That would be awesome. And if you're not already subscribed to my podcast at Substack, um, Angela K. Durden Substack, The Constrained View, then please go ahead and do that. If you're seeing this on YouTube, thumbs up and what's the other thing? Oh, yeah, share. And subscribe on YouTube also. Okay, well, I'm gone. I'm going to put my neat little logo thing so that I can sign off and see y'all another day. Bye.